Hey guys, my name is Jason Ching. I'm one of your leaders here, and my story starts off when I was born. I was about to say that. All right, my story starts off when I'm born.
Starting over.
Hey guys, my name is Jason, and I just wanted to tell you a little bit about my story. Starts off in Hong Kong. That's where I was born. My parents were missionaries. My dad was actually a rock star in a band called City Beat. And so they were there on mission for quite a while. I was 3 months old when they decided to go back to California into the States. I've got two older sisters. They were both born in Hong Kong as well. And so, yes, I am half Chinese. Fun fact. So when we moved to California, our parents didn't have too much, so we stayed with my grandma and grandfather for a little while before we got another apartment. After we got our apartment, our apartment was only 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom with 5 people. So it was pretty crammed, but I didn't know anything different. I was young. And so after our time in California, we moved to Virginia with my other set of grandparents. And I was about 6 years old at the time. First time ever going to a public school in 1st grade. And so that was really different for me. And just to adjust to the changes in life over on the East Coast. So after living with my grandparents for about 6 months, we moved to Midlothian area and started coming to this church. I was about in 2nd grade. So I was a church kid growing up. And in 5th grade, that's what I would say would be one of my most impactful moments in my life. My parents in 5th grade actually decided to split up, and I know that you guys may be in that boat. There's some of you out there that might be dealing with that right now or have gone through that in the past, but they decided to split up. I came home one day and my dad had just taken all this stuff and left, so I felt betrayed. I really did. Here's this guy that I had a great relationship with, that you know, he was a spiritual leader to me, and then he up and left. And so it was hard for me. It was hard more for my sisters because they have known some circumstances behind that. So one of my sisters, when she heard the news, she went up to her room and she blasted the music. Was super angry, and my other sister went up to her room, played some music, and was really sad. Just cried for the rest of the day. But for me, what I did, even though it was super hard, I had lost kind of a father figure, a man in my life who I thought was really special. But I went up into my room and I shut the door, went on my bed, opened my Bible, and got out my journal. And I decided to just write out a few of my thoughts and my prayers. And as I opened the Word, I started to see some things that I'd never seen before. Stories about Jesus, stories about men of faith who are going after Christ in really hard times, just like mine. And so I read about faith, having just this much faith, like a mustard seed, and saying to the mountain that it can move, that Jesus has the power over every single situation that's going on. So it's stories like that, about grace and forgiveness. I didn't want to forgive my dad at that moment, and it was really hard for me to see that word forgiveness in the Word and in the Bible, and to live that out. because I felt like he had done something to me that was just unforgivable. So after my parents were separated, they actually got divorced about 4 years later. But in the meantime, while all that stuff was happening in middle school, middle school is one of those times where you're trying to find yourself, who you are, what you're about, what you're made of. And so I didn't have that father figure in my life to show me that. I had people at church, I had men in my life that were showing me the way, but they weren't at home teaching me. They weren't showing me how to live each and every day, each and every second like Christ. And so as I was trying to find myself through all that and through the circumstances, I started doing things that were not Christ-like. Things like looking at the wrong things on the internet, flirting with girls and leading them on. I got this sense of pride. When I was in elementary school, I had the softest heart. I would cry over anything. But as I got to middle school, I started seeing things and becoming a little bit less naive. And I strongly believe that my heart grew a little bit harder to Christ. All just because I'm trying to find myself and become a man. So after the divorce, my dad actually ended up leaving Virginia and going back to California, where he then got married, and then he has a son now. But through all that, and through high school, he wasn't there. I played basketball in high school, started JV freshman year, and moved to varsity my sophomore year. And so I still didn't have that father figure, that role model in my life. So through basketball, the peer pressure came. Not necessarily drugs, not necessarily alcohol. I wasn't tempted by those things. But it was all the other things. Just hearing how to treat women, the cursing, the things that just kind of flooded my mind from what all my peers wanted me to do. It was easy for me to follow them, but then try to, on the other hand, try to walk this Christian life. So I was two-faced. I had one path where just, didn't do what Christ would want me to do, and then the other hand, going to church. So after high school, I still had, pride in my heart, a hardened heart, but I decided to go to Liberty University. And if you guys don't know, it's a Christian college, and you're kind of in a Christian bubble. But I had some really awesome guys in the dorm that I was in who were holding me accountable. I could tell them anything about my past, about sins, about things that I was struggling with in my own life, and I shared my story with them. So they were able to keep me accountable, not only in my own life, my personal life, but also with reading God's Word. Just being around Christian people and having Christian friends really impacted me and gave me some positive peer pressure to be able to do those things, to get in the Word, to have the right mindset about Christ and what it means to be a Christian. So as I was learning and diving into the Word just jumped out off the page, just like it did in 5th grade. I began to learn new things about purity, about forgiveness, and everything kind of made a full circle. Going back to, I started thinking about 5th grade and the circumstances that I went through with the divorce of my family. And I thought, I don't know if I would want to go back and do it any differently. And the reason is because God, through the divorce, through all the circumstances that I went through, each step of the way in my life, through middle school, through high school, I was able to look back at that moment. And because I was able to forgive my dad for what I thought he did to our family. I was then able to forgive friends that were gossiping about me. I was able to forgive people who did things that were wrong to me. It was that whole concept of, since I was loving God, I was loving other people too. And I realized that in college. It just made a full circle for me in my own mind that through all these circumstances, I should forgive. I should love people just as Jesus loved us. My name is Jason. I've been redeemed, and this is my story.